Hello, everybody. My name is Greg, and this is my colleague David. We are from Guarda Wallet, and we have a really interesting guest from HBAR Foundation, Donald Thibeau, Chief Strategy Officer. Hey, Donald.
Hey, great to talk with you all today. I'm really excited to answer some of your community's questions and get into it.
Great.
Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that we have quite a lot of questions to you from our community, and probably we just need to start from a background. So can you just speak about Hedera and about yourself? So how did you get to crypto?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been lucky enough that I've gotten to spend my whole career in the crypto and blockchain space. So I'm currently one of the co-founders and chief strategy officer for the HBAR Foundation. So our organization is really focused on driving adoption, awareness, usage, and growth of the ecosystem leveraging the Hedera mainnet. So the HBAR Foundation, my organization, is really centered on accelerating adoption, while Hedera is the core public cryptocurrency network that we support and the governing body of that network. So the HBAR Foundation seeks to allocate our fund of a little over $2 billion in value towards those areas of the ecosystem that will most drive value and network effects for the ecosystem as a whole. That means things like core crypto on-ramps, like wallets, exchanges, custodians, all of those crypto native businesses that we've really seen take off in the last couple of years, but also to help support industry verticals where we think there's likely to be high growth in the industry as a whole. Areas like sustainability, gaming, collectibles, certainly payments and retail, leveraging a lot of the good, strong enterprise adoption that Hedera has built over the last few years. Prior to starting the foundation, I was the director of product at Hedera itself for a little over 3 years. So very intimately familiar with the technology as well, but really excited now to be focused on ecosystem growth and how we can help this technology and the network behind it succeed.
Awesome.
Yeah, actually, speaking about technology, so we've got a question. I think the most crucial question for newbies. Can you just explain us, so what's the difference between Hashgraph and blockchain?
Absolutely. So Hashgraph is the consensus algorithm which underpins the Hedera mainnet. It's a proof of stake consensus algorithm, but one that's novel in a few key ways that deliver an incredible amount of value to users of the network. So Hashgraph is a DAG data structure, or a directed acyclic graph, which means that instead of a chain of blocks, you see almost a graph of individual events over time, which make up that distributed ledger. What Hashgraph enables, though, is truly decentralized consensus that processes transactions in an efficient and fast way. It does that leveraging two novel innovations, gossip about gossip and virtual voting, which means that every node can come to consensus on the order of transactions far more efficiently and quickly than other consensus algorithms. But most importantly, what that means for the end user is that they see 10,000 transactions per second, finality of those transactions in a matter of seconds, and fees that are fixed at a fraction of a penny, for instance, for transferring HBAR or a Hedera token service token. And that's really what is most important for most user experience. But they can also know that underneath the covers, there's nothing around leader election or a smaller set of nodes participating in consensus that might bring down the network. It is truly decentralized and truly distributed in that every node participates in every round of consensus. And really that core innovation around Hashgraph is what's made many of the use cases on Hedera possible, whether it's micropayments or digital ad transparency, or even tracing COVID vaccine supply chains, let alone many in the crypto and token space as well.
Wow.
It sounds really interesting, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always unique. Some people like to get way under the covers and learn about the data structure, learn about the algorithms, which we love to do and support people in doing, especially at the foundation. But when you also can deliver such a good user experience with that, low fees, which, as we all know in the crypto space, is one of the biggest impediments, is something that I think is quite powerful.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting you mentioned that because Candy Tree, one of the users, has a question about the everyday use. So, what practical cases does Hedera currently have? Any examples you could share with us?
Sure. So let me first talk about those use cases which are more, crypto and token native, and then talk
Mm-hmm.
about some of the areas where it might be something that people don't even know they're using Hedera.
Mm-hmm.
So certainly today you can create a Hedera account through something like Guarda, for instance. You can leverage your HBAR to, pay different users in micropayments. Certain applications are exploring how to incorporate those micropayments into things like music streaming or advertising. Other stablecoins have been deployed to the network, like USDC, which can be similarly leveraged for those types of frictionless, efficient payments between users. And we're also seeing a number of use cases that are, bringing the crypto economy to the broader public. So
Mm-hmm.
use cases like, say, Sugu, where they're dropping different NFTs tied to physical products, or Galaxy, supporting people engaging with their favorite celebrities. And many of those use cases, which are, built on Hedera, leveraging things like the Hedera token service, allow users to get comfortable with cryptocurrency for an application that's interesting to them. But what we've also seen built on Hedera is use cases which leverage the technology that people might not even know it's underpinning. So, for instance, the Coupon Bureau, one of the organizations that supports couponing across the US retail industry, leverages Hedera for traceability and provenance around coupons for US retail stores. So somebody
Mm-hmm.
could be redeeming a coupon they cut out, from a magazine or got online, and may not even know that they're using the Hedera consensus service underneath the covers, so that the retailers and other participants get more visibility. Another example would be Everywhere. They worked with the National Health Service in the UK to trace the supply chain of COVID vaccine distribution, to ensure that at each point in the supply chain, there was a verifiable temperature reading of the storage of that vaccine, which then helped them in their COVID vaccine distribution, again, leveraging Hedera without it necessarily being something the user even knew. So when we look at both sides of the spectrum, whether it's a crypto native user who's purchasing or leveraging or paying somebody with a token, or one of these applications which is already at scale supporting an existing process, I think I feel very confident and excited about the direction the Hedera ecosystem and usage is growing, given we've got such strong adoption in both of those areas.
Actually, you've got a question about ecosystem, but I think we can ask it a bit later.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, I just want to say that we really like our users, and some of them are really funny. And here is the really funny question. That's a question from Andre. The share of elder generation on our planet is about 20% and is getting bigger. So my question is really simple. How will Hedera help my granny?
To renewable energies?
I think what they're asking is the older generation. So how will the Hedera
Ah.
help that generation? And Andre, he's asking about his grandmother. So I think that was the question. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Got it.
probably about the future. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
The elders.
Look, I think, yeah, sure. I know a few that might be considered elders. I don't know if they'd like that label, but it's really one of the most exciting dynamics of this industry is that we continue to see more and more people and organizations enter this community. Everybody, at Christmas is asking about buying their first token, or how to set up their first wallet. And I think that first and foremost is what's most powerful about this technology, how it can build that community and how anybody can be a part of that community regardless of age. But
Mhm.
what's coming with that growth is building and enabling user experiences that make this technology more accessible. So I think every day in the wallet space, in the token access space, Guarda being a great example, you see new improved user experiences that make it easy for somebody to get their first tokens, get onto a network, and start to engage with that network. That's really, I think, going to be one of the largest ways in which we bring in, Granny and the older generations to this technology. And then, of course, as we also look at many existing businesses who are exploring this technology and how to integrate it into their offerings, that market will only continue to expand. One of the novel features of Hedera is its governance model. So Hedera is actually a multi-member LLC, the entity which governs the network itself. And organizations are a part of that, like, for instance, Google, Boeing, IBM, DLA Piper, Magazine Louisa, many organizations who have large consumer bases that could be leveraging this technology and Hedera in the future as well. Again, all about increasing that community and increasing that adoption.
Awesome. Next question is from Joseph, a very active member of our community. Is there a major reason why an HBAR address looks different from a typical cryptocurrency address? Is it by design, or does it have a particular effect in the Hashgraph ecosystem?
Yeah, I love this question because it's one of those kind of unknown, really cool things about Hedera as well. So we call that number the account ID, 0.0.1234. The three numbers, just for you tech geeks out there, are the shard, the realm, and then the ID number, which as the network grows, we could see that begin to be relevant. But the account ID model really enables three really powerful things in the space. First, it's certainly more memorable. It's a heck of a lot easier to remember, 6 digits than it may be your full public address. Second is it enables higher performance on the network because it is that smaller address that use in transactions can be more efficient. But third, and most powerfully, is how that abstraction away from a public-private key pair can enable more customization and decentralization by users. So let me go down this rabbit hole a little bit, if that's okay with you both. So in most blockchains, you have the public key, which represents the address of a user's wallet. That's what they use to receive funds, and it is controlled with the private key. Now, on Hedera, that account ID is what's used to send funds or represent the user on the network. That is similarly, though, controlled by a public-private key pair. But what that separation enables is, one, not only could you update or change that key like you would change your password if your key is lost or compromised in the future, so that you can keep the same account ID, but still change your public-private key pair. But it also enables the network to have what we call native multi-signature capabilities. So typically, if you want to share an account with your grandmother because you really want to help her get into the crypto economy, you might both have a key, and offline you would use some algorithm to generate a single key based on your two individual keys, and that would be the public address. For Hedera, with each account ID, you can have that multi-signature capability built in. So you, say, can require yourself and your grandmother to sign a transaction from an account ID to do that transfer. And you can get even more complex from there, having something like a nested key structure or a key list, like you need 3 out of 5 signatures. And that's really powerful, especially as we look to the business and enterprise space, because that's a core security requirement for managing funds at an institutional perspective, and is now enabled natively with this Hedera account model.
Wow, I like that.
Yeah, thank you for the answer. I just want to say that we are online, and we have users who just watching us. So just want to show some comments.
Let's see.
Like this, yeah, hello. Actually, yeah, if you like, you can ask different kind of questions, and we're going to answer them. And I like this word comment. Yeah,
Mhm.
HBAR to the moon. Yeah.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah. Hey guys. Yeah. How are you doing?
Hello, hello.
And there is a very technical question. Um, I should ask you this one. Um, that's about mining or lack of mining. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, can you please answer that? Can you see the question?
I can indeed.
Yeah.
So it looks to me as if this is asking about how the staking model can support consensus on Hedera.
Yeah.
Um, so going back to where we started around Hashgraph consensus,
Mhm.
that consensus algorithm is a proof of stake consensus algorithm, meaning that the voting of nodes in the consensus process is weighted by the HBAR that is staked to or by those nodes. That's staking model is designed such that it can be a security mechanism. If you have a sufficiently wide distribution of tokens, then it becomes prohibitively expensive for any single or small group of actors to control a sufficient majority of HBAR to influence consensus voting. And because Hedera has every node participate in every round of consensus, it's not like just leaders themselves could become the accrual of stake. So both the node operators and individuals can participate in the future in that staking process. That's done by proxy staking or staking their tokens to a node as part of their consensus vote. This is something that Hedera is implementing over time in their path to decentralization, but certainly is a very important security feature that's being rolled out and helping to enable a scalable and secure network as well.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you. There was a brief question about POS on POW. So,
I did see that one. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
Ethereum is POS, right?
That's right. Yep.
Mhm.
Great. So good. Yeah, actually, you can ask different kind of questions, but we still can stick to the plan. And I think we have a question about NFTs. That's a really
Mhm.
hot topic, so we just need to speak about it.
Yeah, and this question is from Wencia07, I think. Yeah, so with NFTs being so popular and rewarding, many users, young and old, again, elders, will there be any programs implemented which will give back to the community in any way? And another one is where would NFTs bring love and life back to our fellow humans of this planet? I think that was the question.
Fantastic. So, firstly, the NFT space is definitely one here at the HBAR Foundation that we're very excited about. I think both because it's driven largely by the community and it's really bringing people together around those communities of different collectibles.
Hmm.
Anything from hash browns is one of my favorite names to HBARmery and our Hgraph punks, as well as all these community NFT initiatives that are spinning up and bringing people to Hedera, which is really exciting. But NFTs are also now becoming a core part of how brands and different, influencers and creators engage with their communities. For instance, you can now have a collectible or a ticket or something that's represented by an NFT that you now hold because you went to, say, a show or
Hmm.
went to see a sporting event, and that's really exciting. We're seeing a large number of those projects issuing to Hedera today. I mentioned Suku as well. One example, helping to tokenize physical products like sneakers and hats. We have projects like Venly, who are helping build the wallet and marketplace infrastructure for other NFT issuers to come. And to the question of who's helping to spread the love, I'll
Yeah.
call it another project called Siva.love, which is launched by Dr. Deepak Chopra,
Really?
leveraging Hedera, which is supporting NFT issuance tied to some of those social good, positive influence, positive mentality ideas. That's one that I think is quite cool.
So the man
He had
himself.
done a few years ago a project called the Never Alone platform, that helps people combating with things like depression and other issues,
Mhm.
leveraging Hedera. So we're really excited to see initiatives like that spinning up in the ecosystem as well.
Just to double check, you said Deepak Chopra, the man himself?
That's right. Yep.
Really? Wow,
Mhm.
I didn't know that. And I would like to ask you a follow-up question, if you don't mind.
Mhm.
You mentioned NFTs and gaming. So how would you describe your community? Like, what would you say about just the community aspect? What brings people together,
Mm.
in your opinion?
Yeah, I think, we like in the space to talk about the technical innovation as the coolest part of what's been happening these past few years. But
Hmm.
for me, it's really always been that community innovation around how communities form. People across the globe can now come together because, they like the same pixel art and they can now start
Hmm.
to participate in one another or with one another. And I think the NFT community in particular on Hedera has demonstrated that really well. They, are running their own Twitter spaces, starting their own Discord servers, not only looking at, hey, how can we, share and trade these assets, but how can we
Hmm.
help each other build and launch these assets? It's almost hard to keep track of who's doing what because they're all promoting each other so frequently in the efforts that they're doing. And that's because I think they've got a strong bond as a community. And our hope at the HBAR Foundation is to help give that support, but recognizing that it's been on its own legs and it's because of their hard work. And all we can do is help however we can on the
Hmm.
support.
Neat. All right, back to you, Greg.
Yeah, I've got a question actually summarizing all that you said. Can I ask you, could you say the main feature which just differs Hedera from any other coin? So I'm asking because as far as I understood, the speed of Hedera, right, or the speed of transaction is the main feature. Am I right, or there is another one, probably the most unique one?
When I talk about Hedera and its differentiators, I really like to separate them into both those from a technology and from a governance perspective.
Mhm.
So we talked about technology earlier: speed, performance,
Hmm.
cost, and sustainability. Let's put a note
Mhm.
in sustainability because we
All
should
right.
circle back there. And those are all critical features for anybody building applications or using the service so they can do so in a performant and sustainable way. But there's also this governing model, the Hedera Governing Council I mentioned, which in some cases I like to describe as future proofing the network because the governance council has a structured way to add new items to the product roadmap, make
Mhm.
improvements to the service over time, and continue to innovate like a typical technology product would. And that's great for Hedera because you continue to see those improvements coming out that help open up a new market or improve scalability. So, just an example, there's a release that's coming up shortly in the public roadmap that's Smart Contract Service version 2. This is bringing the Hyperledger BSU or Ethereum based smart contracts to a whole new scale on the Hedera network, which we're likely to see drive a good amount of adoption and development, which is really
Mhm.
exciting. And that's because that roadmap can be improving over time and incorporating these latest features and changes.
Yeah, I see. Actually, I'm asking because you previously spoke about the community and about the united community, and I think those innovations are really important because when people see what will be in the future, just trying to forecast, so probably that's the way they go to the community and just to
Hmm.
start to be part of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably so. That's
Well,
continue.
yeah, to connect that dot, we're seeing the community be the driver of those roadmap options. The
Mhm.
Hedera improvement proposal process has been leveraged to create a proposal to do a large number of things on the network. A good example was some of those same NFT community members said, "Hey, we need a way for NFTs to more easily be added to
Mhm.
user wallets."
Hmm.
They created that improvement proposal, and it was on the network live, I think, within a matter of maybe three to 4 months. And that really is a strong pace of innovation, bringing community lessons, community feedback into production on the network itself.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's really good that you mentioned the wallet. And there is a question about exchanges, so I'm going to show it. Yeah,
Mm,
why Hedera is still not available on major exchanges, but Look, we are from Guarda wallet, and Hedera is available there. So why
It
should
is.
we do the exchanges? Yeah.
There you go. And look, we've seen listing by exchanges like Binance, Wobi, and others. It's always hard to kind of predict when and which exchanges list where, but our goal at the HBAR Foundation is to be growing the adoption and accessibility of HBAR as a token as well. And so something that's really important to us from a community growth and access perspective as well.
Yeah.
Great. And before we talk about climate change, I see there's an interesting question here by Darren. With the average age of the American farmer about 60 years old, do you envision a place for crypto, specifically Hedera, to encourage younger farmers to enter the agriculture sector? Is that something that you have, in works, or what would you say?
Besides growing up in Iowa, I don't know that
Okay.
there's much I can say, intelligently on that farmer prediction. No, just kidding. But what I assume here we're talking about yield farmers,
Probably.
or liquidity providers. It's surprising the space goes in all directions. I think from a Hedera and HBAR economy perspective, what we're starting to see is increasing opportunities for token holders, whether it's HBAR or tokens on Hedera, being able to access and engage with that economy. So different liquidity options in the future. I think different staking and yield options will certainly be emerging over time. And that's really going to be bringing in that farmer persona into the crypto economy to be participating in those different functions. It's hard to predict kind of the market dynamics of age and things like that, but what we're seeing is more and more application builders, exchanges, custodians are incorporating those directly into their offerings as well. So people could be staking their tokens, for instance, but it may just be something that's analogous to their savings account without them knowing it. So I think we'll see those opportunities continue to emerge. It's certainly something that's a priority for us at the HBAR Foundation, and one that I think is going to continue to grow in the market as a whole.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. I still want to come back to differences, and the question from our user Cryptocoin is, according to the third generation public ledger part on your website, there is a huge difference between your blockchain and Bitcoin and Ethereum blockchain. How is it possible?
So we talked earlier about Hashgraph and then about staking, which are certainly core differences. But I want to talk now about sustainability and how that differentiates from some of those other networks. So as I'm sure many of you all know, proof of work consensus, especially like that, which is on Bitcoin and Ethereum, is intentionally computationally intensive. It consumes energy to participate and validate transactions, which means that there's a large energy footprint. Now, I'm of the opinion that a lot of the crypto space is very renewables forward. So across the industry, it's very exciting to see how many of those miners are looking at how they can leverage and drive demand for renewables themselves. But for Hedera, we've started with sustainability from the onset at the core. So we've had third parties that have released studies articulating how Hedera is more efficient from an energy consumption perspective on a per transaction basis, not only than Bitcoin or Ethereum, but even networks like Visa. So that, for instance, when you're issuing an NFT or trading an NFT, you're doing so in a sustainable way. Hedera even announced that they were carbon negative as well, because not only do they have that low energy footprint, but have purchased sufficient renewable energy credits to cover the energy even consumed to become carbon negative. And that sustainability is really important for many people who are building in Web3, deploying tokens, who want to have a low energy footprint and see that as important to their operations. But what's also exciting is we're seeing this technology be an enabler for broader energy markets and energy trading. So whether it's tokenized assets that can now be exchanged between businesses representing carbon credits and other sustainability assets, we're seeing it as a driver for those markets and the growth in those markets, which I think is quite exciting as well.
Don, I just want to understand you correctly. Can it be the answer to that question about competitors? I mean, sustainability. Have you already answered that, or?
Yeah, so competition, certainly is multifaceted more than just sustainability. We think that is a core differentiator. One thing I will say is that we are helping to build, along with many of our competitors, this distributed crypto economy. We love that bridges connect different communities, connect different networks, so that value can flow between those networks. But with that being said, one of our core goals, especially at the HBAR Foundation, is to both build the community and the economy on top of Hedera that make it an attractive place for value to flow, for users to come participate, and for people to exchange value. This will be done, not only by helping to incentivize and promote and give grants to organizations who are building DeFi applications or payments applications or even enterprise integrations on Hedera to build that HBAR and Hedera economy, but also, again, by those organic community efforts, which are bringing people into different NFT trading applications or through different DeFi applications that are completely independently built in a decentralized way. So that is, really for us, what's most important when we think about differentiating the competition is not only starting on that strong base of technical and governance innovation, but enabling the HBAR economy to be an attractive place to come, store your value, transact value, and engage in commerce.
Great. Yeah.
Interesting. Shall we talk about climate change?
Yeah.
Sure. I talked about it a little bit before, but happy to go back to that if you.
What were you saying, Greg?
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to say that there was a question in our comments. Yeah, I'm just looking for that question, but still, can you ask that, please?
Navid has a question. How much HBAR will Hedera Hashgraph invest in measures against climate change?
So I talked earlier about Hedera's decision and announcement to be carbon negative. I think that that's something that will certainly continue, where they'll be operating that network in a sustainable way. At the HBAR Foundation, with our fund, we plan to really dedicate sizable resources to incentivizing sustainability use cases and market formation on Hedera. We see a large number of organizations that want to participate in, energy markets, carbon trading, renewable energy credits on Hedera, and we plan to leverage our ecosystem fund to provide the incentives into that adoption, as well as the building side being done in a sustainable way. So I don't have a hard number here for you, but certainly this is an area that is a high priority for us at the HBAR Foundation as well.
Great, thank you.
That's high priority for us as a humanity, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think it's time to talk about Dapps, because we have several questions on it. What new Dapps are coming up for Hedera? What type of Dapps do you see are most suited for Hedera? And how do you promote Hedera, the preferred blockchain protocol for developers creating those Dapps?
So at the HBAR Foundation, one of our core missions is to provide financial support and incentives for people who are building. So first, my call to the community, if you're a developer or a builder, and there's some way we can support you, please get in touch, through hbarfoundation.org or just reaching out to me on Twitter. We'd love to support you however we can. With that being said, because of that support, we can get some visibility into the applications that are coming to Hedera. And I think one big area is not only around NFTs and the creator economy, but many of those DeFi applications like lending protocols, exchanges that will deploy natively to Hedera as well, especially with the smart contract service improvement that's coming from Hedera on the network. And that's going to help strengthen that HBAR economy and give token holders a place to come engage in commerce. that's, I think, what I'd call out as two of the big growth areas, as well as continuing the enterprise adoption that's given Hedera such strong defensibility with organizations like DLA Piper and their Toko securitization platform on Hedera and others in the enterprise space. But that being said, one of the dynamics I love most about this industry is applications launch, and we didn't even know they existed until they were live. And that's because people can build, deploy, and take it to market independently of anybody, let alone our organization. But we're eager to support as many of those creators, as many of those builders as we can. So we'd love to chat with anybody who's looking at deploying their own application.
You're talking about security, and there was a question from our user about that. ABFT,
Sure thing. Yeah. So going back to Hashgraph, there's the general idea in distributed compute is the fault tolerance of a consensus model. How many malicious actors or network out or node outages can the network tolerate without coming down completely? And Hashgraph is really the gold standard of that security model in ABFT, or asynchronous Byzantine fault tolerance. What that means is that every node participates in every round of consensus to apply their vote, meaning that, again, it is truly distributed, and many or no small group of actors can corrupt that ordering of transactions. This was formally verified by a professor out of Carnegie Mellon, and a compute model behind it as well. And again, we think gives that real gold standard of security in the network.
Great.
Yeah, thank you.
And Don, would you like to talk about partnerships? I know you mentioned a few already, but any upcoming ones perhaps?
Yeah, I think one that I'll call out today, the Hashport bridge just came to market, which is connecting Hedera to Polygon and Ethereum. So if you've got assets on those networks and you want to start leveraging applications on Hedera or vice versa, you can leverage the Hashport bridge today to start to connect those communities. We think that's powerful because, as I mentioned earlier, we're part of building this broader crypto economy and want to have the connections into those networks, as best possible in any way. So that Hashport bridge is really exciting, and you can go try out the application today. Just by, I don't have the URL off the top of my head, but
I'm sure people can just find it. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, I just wanted to show some questions of our users. So look, here is
a lot.
Yeah, there are quite a lot. You're right. With this one about Hedera networks, and I just want to show you another one because look at this. Ryan just didn't understand what type of networks do you mean? Yeah.
Sure. So there is only one Hedera mainnet, that is the core public network. And that is where we see adoption building over time and this economy building. One of the novel features of Hedera, though, is that it becomes trivially easy if you want to build your own layer 2 on that network. So you can leverage private blockchain frameworks like Guarda, Quorum, or Hyperledger Fabric, or you can use some of the open source code, say, to build a custom network, layer 2 network for a sustainability market. We have open source code called the Guardian model, which helps to build those networks as well. So one of the things that's really powerful about Hedera is not only can you have that core public cryptocurrency network, but support, custom layer 2 or private networks built on top of Hedera that leverage Hedera for transaction settlement or ordering of transactions or verification of data to enable those custom networks to be built.
Yep.
Great.
That's great. That's a comment from our user. Yeah.
Big like for the eco-friendly.
Couldn't agree more. It's certainly important on our end as well.
Perfect.
That's the one. Yeah. Okay. Here is a tricky question for you. That's about revenue model. I don't know if you can comment on that, but still, I just need to ask that. That's from Front Chairman. That's a nickname. Revenue is critical for projects' growth and progress. So how do you produce profits or money to keep your project running? And what is your revenue model?
Sure. So the HBAR Foundation is really a nonprofit ecosystem fund. We want to help support projects and as such don't have a profit motive. Hedera, as a completely separate independent entity and network, has a node fee model that compensates the network operators on a per transaction basis to accrue revenue over time. But I think what's most important is the revenue models that we can enable the applications on Hedera to leverage. So just to call out one of the novel features that we enabled for the Hedera token service, and this was again enabled by a Hedera improvement proposal from a community member, you can have custom fees assigned to the token that you create. So let's say that you create an NFT that you want to issue to the market. You can require that there's a royalty type fee payment with that NFT transfer at any point in time. So it's not just that you can monetize or get revenue at the token drop or sale, but over time you can earn those royalties on your token no matter where it's used in the HBAR economy. And I think for creators, for music labels, as an example, that's very, very powerful.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Look, we're speaking about NFT, right? Because that's really crucial. That's really popular topic right now. But can I ask you personally, what do you think about this NFT sphere? And can you compare this sphere, like all of these collectibles, for example, I don't know, like 30 years ago when people just collected baseball cards, but right now they just don't do it, So probably, can we say that we're gonna have something the same with NFTs?
So maybe to answer your question, I'll call out a cycle I've seen in the crypto economy a few times that gives me a lot of excitement about NFTs. We always saw the first wave of usage for tokens and for cryptocurrencies in speculation. People want to invest to get a return on this token. But much as in the first wave, we saw that begin with the whether it's an ICO bubble or speculation on tokens, result in innovation around utility and the creation of networks that are, like Hedera, layer ones that are governance tokens, that are utility tokens in NFTs. Although, today we're seeing a lot of speculation on the collectibles. Can I get a return on this asset? We're also going to start to see that now improve user engagement and experience in how those NFTs are used. So no longer will it be, can I purchase this pixel art to hold this pixel art and sell it in the future? But I want to purchase this NFT that's now used in a gaming experience, or this NFT that's tied to a physical sporting event that I attended and shows my representation. So we're seeing more utility being added to these NFTs that I think is really exciting, because it's bringing major consumer brands, major retail brands to the crypto economy because of the opportunity that they see it presenting.
Yeah, that's right. And here the great comment from our viewer. Look at this. Yeah, baseball cards are already NFTs. Yeah, that's right.
There you go.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
There's a question from Tervana. So what do you see Hedera and the HBAR Foundation, I assume, in the next 5 years?
This is a great question, and the one that I like to say that the space moves so quickly that if your predictions aren't wrong 3 months out, then you're doing something wrong. I think we'll see Hedera from a technology perspective adopted in a few areas. It'll be underpinning payment and currency systems by banks, monetary authorities, traditional financial institutions, even retailers and consumer experiences that leverage that for efficiencies. I think we'll see new financial markets like in sustainability, renewable energy credits that are built from scratch, enabled with DLT and cryptocurrency. I think we'll see some of these communities like NFTs, collectibles, gaming experiences, both moving from just, communities to games, applications, adoption at scale as well. And I think, of course, we'll continue to see the growth of the DeFi economy on Hedera being the place where users can come participate in commerce, transact value, and, for some also see where they can profit. Our hope at the HBAR Foundation is really that we can just be an accelerant for all of those. We provide, financial support in the context of grant giving, technical support helping to advise and connect you with other members of the community, and also marketing and awareness support for projects that are launched, so that time to adoption and to launch can be significantly compressed.
Interesting.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, actually. We are run out of time a bit, but probably that's the time to pick the best question, or probably two best questions.
Uh-oh. Do I have to pick the best questions?
You do, yeah.
Sure, yeah, that's your choice.
Yeah, look, I had a good time answering that account ID model. I think I like to always share why it's a bit unique, but one that's really powerful for users, how you can have more decentralized control of your accounts. And then, of course, I always love talking about the community. So the questions asking about how that community is forming in the NFT space and beyond is also one that I love to talk about as well.
Perfect. Okay, yeah. And the last question, I think that's a really traditional one. We ask everybody that one. What would you do if you had a superpower in the crypto world? So anything.
What would I do if I had a superpower in the crypto world? I think for me, what's most important and most innovative about this technology, this community, is the openness of access. Anybody can join these economies, acquire assets, participate in commerce, buy NFTs. So if I had a superpower, I would do anything in my power to make that access more open and more accessible to, earlier in the conversation, to bring Granny onto the blockchain. Whether that's through, well-adopted applications like Twitter or building novel wallets, that's where I think it's most important that we continue to grow and enable that open access to this economy.
That's
really
beautiful.
smart. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
All right. Well, it was great talking with you all, and I appreciate all the questions from your community.
Thank you so much,
Thank
actually.
you.
We'll see you next time. You're always welcome in our community. And see you again.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Bye-bye.